Hello, welcome to another video focused on Python, Pandas, and Microsoft Excel. In this video, we are going to read data from multiple Excel files and combine them into a single data frame in Pandas using Python. What we're hoping to achieve out of this video is give you a bit of a basic understanding of some of the programming concepts like lists and loops. Pretty important, both of these. Uh, Provide an introduction to essentially pulling data out of Panda data frame, slicing and dicing a Pandas data frame, and essentially get you to produce a real life app you could use where you can use Excel files to get data from different individuals and combine them using Python into a single location. An overview of the data is we've got a file called paths, and this file has the locations of the underlying Excel files we would like to read. And a quick overview of the files is the Excel one is the first file we want to read, which has this table and the marker for reference is file 1. And Excel 2 is another file which has some data we want to read, and this file 2 is a tag put in each line. Right, now let's quickly jump into the Jupyter Notebook. And in my previous video, I have shown a simple example of how to specifically read data into Python using Pandas. A very quick refresher to that video. I'll share a link as well down below, but very quick refresher is we got this method called pd.read underscore excel within pandas, in which you provide the path to the file, which file is here, and this is referring to this path. Then you provide the sheet name you want to read, the header row, and the columns to use. Check out the other video for details of how to use this method if you're unclear. But when you do that, you kind of read this output. So I've read Excel 2, which I've shown before here, and you can see that presented here. Now, very important before you start coding is to lay out how your code should work in a sequential order. So what I've done here is I've given all the steps. In step 1, we have to get the file paths, because we'll get the file paths and loop through the file paths so that we can read the underlying files. And essentially what I mean by that is Python connects to this workbook and reads this data frame, and then we isolate these paths from that data frame is what I'm calling as step 1. And I've just given a bit of intro to step 2, where we have to essentially, once we have isolated this bit, we need to sequentially loop through. So what I mean by that is in the first loop, we would have this path, which is fed into this location, and you read sheet 1, and then you go in and provide location path to file 2 here in a way, and then you read the other one. So that's what I mean by step 2. Step 3 is once we have the paths and we're looping through reading the underlying file data, and step 4 would be combining them into a single data frame. So let's quickly jump into step 1. Pretty simple. This is the path file to the paths.xlx file I've shown you. We are saying, so this path reference is this path here. We're saying read sheet 1, use header row Excel row 2, which is referred to in row 1 because Python uses 0 as a starting index, whereas Excel has row 1 as 1. And we are saying just isolate column B's and C's. And when we do this, when we run the snippet of code, this is the output. So we are literally saying these two bits, but in Python here. But now we need to isolate these two bits first, and then loop through them. So I'm very quickly going to walk through an explanation of list and loops in Python. So I've got this example here. Let me unhash this. And then hash out some of this bit here. So with these two square brackets, empty square brackets mean I have created a data container called list and I have named it as data. And this is an empty container. It doesn't have anything in it, and we will use the append method to fill data in it. So as an example, so this is a list, and now we're going to use a for loop to fill this out. And what a for loop is? A for loop is a way of telling Python to do things over and over again and apply certain logics to it. So in this loop, it's kind of an algebraic language saying for I in range 1 to 11. So what this means is the first time around when this loop is activated, it would have I would be equal to 1. Second time it will be 2. Third time will be 3, so on and so forth until we hit 10. And we're saying every time that happens, multiply I with 2, and then whatever that product is, append this to a list called data, and we have created this data here. So if I run this code, let's see what happens. So you can see it's created a list containing all the elements in a loop. So this is a very, very basic explanation of a loop. This is something we'll explore in detail in another video. It's not the topic of this video. But I'm just showing that for reference. Now, another concept I want to introduce to you is, let me just do this. So if I, so this method here is a method within Pandas to isolate a column. So if we put the data frame, this refers to this, and this is a data frame which holds this data. And when we use this method, we're saying in this data frame, just extract this column, which is this column here. So now that we've understood the concept of the loop, sorry, a loop and the list, we will quickly go through how to just extract one column from a pandas data frame. So we have this data frame here, which has got two columns, but we just need this one file path column. So the way to do this is we'd say we'll refer to the data frame itself, which is path.df, which is read here. And then we, within square brackets, give the column name, and this isolates the path. And if I run this, you would see that this is what it is. It's coming up with this index, which still means it's a slice of a data frame, but I essentially need it as a list. So this example here, as I've shown above here, is now when I loop through it and print, I can get individual file paths without these pandas indexes in it. So let me just print this bit out. So just keep focus on this when I print this. So you can see now that this is a clean file path I have gotten, and this was our objective in this step. So now we have the exact file paths we needed. We can use these in the next step to loop through and read the data, extract the data we need. And what we would then create is we're creating an empty data, an empty list, which is called data frame. And this is going to hold essentially, if I go back to this, so that list would hold first this bit in it, and then we loop through to the second file, it would hold this list. So that is the purpose of creating this empty list. Then we use the same for loop and say for I in paths df and then file path within square brackets. What it's going to do is first time the I will be this file 1, second time when we loop through the path will be this file 2, and then it's simply df here is holding the same data set as we have seen above. We print the df and then we print these breakers to visually show you here that this has actually been done. So let me just build this now. And so this kind of is a loop we're going through, and each loop we are saying read the data frame as this, then print the data frame, then break this by printing these 2 bits here, and then append the data frame into this data frame empty list. So let's run this. And you can see it's very quickly read through the 2 Excel files and printed out the relevant column. So now all that is left after this video after this step is in step 4. We want to combine the two, and we're going to use a very powerful pandas function called concat. So I'm going to do another video on Concat. It's a very, very important function or process within Pandas to use for data merging. So it's now very simple. We declare the output data frame to be df out. We use pd.concat method and pass in this data frame, which is this list here of data frames. So this list has 2 data frames, and pd concat method then combines it into a single data frame. And as I was right at the start showing you the file marker, so you can see file 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then file 2 from here. So in this video, we have now read 2 Excel files. We've read the path to 2 Excel files, read the data out of 2 Excel files. We've combined them into a single pandas data table. In the upcoming videos, I'll show you how to print this data out to an Excel file. And I also do another video on Concat, and we'll have some other videos going in depth in terms of this data extraction out of pandas data frames. I hope you like this video, and there will be further videos explaining these concepts. Thank you.